welcome to the Grow Shop again, where we talk about scaling without the bullshit. Today we're talking to a very good friend and a very, very interesting guy by the name of Adam Jordan. So Adam has a social media agency, but behind the scenes it's so much more, and he's worked with, I was looking at your website just now, man, I didn't even realize who you'd work with to that level. It's like Revolut, we've got Chopard, we've got MasterCard, we've got Boohoo, kind of a lot of the big swings. So we met last November in Dubai, and Josh Abbott was the guy that was helping out Grow Shop, and he's a brilliant networker, and I'd always bring a problem to him. So at that time, I wanted to get a lot better, or as a company, get far better at building organic reach and building organic profiles. And I was like, Josh, I know you've got this guy that you've told me about. We're going to sit down, let's have lunch. If he mentions anything about follower bots or any of that bullshit, he can get the tab, not interested. But then we sit down and he starts talking through what he's achieved, and it just blew my mind. So Adam, if you want to give a bit of an intro about yourself, man, let people know.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, mate. Yeah, so I run an agency called Social Kick, which is essentially like a one-stop shop agency for anyone looking to grow, monetize, and strategize on social media to make the most of it. So whether that's an e-com company looking to get more sales, whether it's an app company looking to get more downloads, or just an individual who wants to grow and potentially be an influencer in the space, we pretty much cover all corners of what social media is, and can help through, I think it's about just over 7 years experience now in the space, working with startup companies all the way up to multi-billion-dollar companies. So definitely got a wide range of experience there with the different type of companies.
Amazing, man. This is going to be a fun one. So when I was driving over to the studio in the Uber, I was mapping out what, some highlights, what we're going to talk about. So we're talking about doing organic social right, which is going to be interesting, and you're going to hear some stuff you wouldn't have heard before. Difference between personal brand and business brand, and bunch of other stuff. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, this guy lives a really interesting life. So the only times we've been able to connect are at different points in the world. It was Dubai, then it was New York, then Miami, and then a quick one in London. And I thought about it, and I was like, it'd be really interesting to share your story where you started. So Adam's from the north of England originally, and then I was thinking of his memoir title on the way, which is From the North to Beyond, which is
I love it.
I think it's a winner. To be good, can you just share a little bit where you started in the North and what motivated you to start exploring the world, and how you structured your business in a way to, I guess, facilitate the lifestyle that you wanted?
Yeah, of course. Well, going right back to the start, I was never the biggest fan of school, and I didn't know I had any type of entrepreneurial talents back then. It was only until it was actually my dad who forced me to go to college and take a business related course. I realized that a part of that course, or the biggest part that I liked, was the marketing side of it. So I ended up finishing that around, I think it was about 4 months ahead of everyone else. So it wasn't like A levels, it was more like a diploma course, whatever it is. But then you just needed those points to get into university. So realized then that I actually loved business and the marketing side of it, and really started to spend a lot of my spare time looking at the marketing side of things. And bear in mind, back then, Instagram was not the main platform. Facebook was. And even then, it was quite early on for the whole process of social media. This is back when, even influencers weren't even a thing. So when I went to university, I went to the University of Liverpool to study marketing because I didn't know what else to do. I feel like a lot of people just go to university as the distraction because they don't actually know what they want to do with their lives, which is absolutely fine. I'm so happy that I've done it. But the first year of university, Instagram started to become like a competitor platform for Facebook. I think this is before it was actually acquired as well.
What year was this?
This was 2000 and 2012, 2013. Yeah. 7-8 years ago.
So this is OG Insta, and you're right. This is still when it was a separate platform, and they're going.
Yeah, exactly. There was no integrations. I think it was actually before Facebook actually bought Instagram. But yeah, long story short, I've always been into my fashion, and I started an Instagram page, which was a celebrity fashion page. I just found really cool celebrities outfits, and I reposted it online. And it was called Men's Fashion Co. That was the first page I ever created online. And with that, I probably had about 6 months of posting once or twice a day. Didn't expect anything from it. This was before I even knew it was monetizable. It was before I knew anyone was even interested in the platform. I was a very early adopter of Instagram, which gave me a massive competitive edge. So I was just taking in all this data, finding out different ways to grow. I was, the space was quite small, and specifically within like the generic viral page space. So I started to network and knew a lot of people. And then I think it was about a year in, or just under a year in, I got to around 80 or 90,000 followers.
Oh, shit.
And it was the first time a company messaged me. I think it was called Gentleman's Box. It was like a men's subscription box. And they sent me a message on Instagram, and they said, "Hey, how much do you charge for a post?" And I remember being like, wait, he wants to pay me to put his things on my page?
And what's in the box? What's in this gentleman's box?
Yeah, what's in the box? What he's selling to people. I ended up saying, I think it was around 20 or 25 pounds for the first ever post.
Yeah.
And he came back again and bought another like 5 straight away. And I was like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
If I've got a page and I can monetize it, that means that I can go to other people I know within my network and basically say, hey guys, if I actually bring you some money, can I take X percentage of it? And I can meet you guys an income, which they obviously agreed to. So that was the start of what the mini agency started like anyway, because as soon as I realized it was monetizable, I started to reach out to pages that were bigger than mine, more engaged than mine, were growing faster than mine, and started to leverage their pages and then approach brands to advertise and, buy ad space on these accounts. And back then, no one cared what they were promoting because the engagement was crazy. The following was crazy because the algorithm was so new back then. And it would just, you could grow so easily. I remember growing like easily 1,000 to 1,500 a day on some of the pages in the very early days. So yeah, that's how the mini agency started anyway. Do you want me to just flip straight into how that has kind of affected my lifestyle now and the freedom it's...
Kick into it, because we've had a lot of fun chats often over a couple of brews where we talk about lifestyle design, essentially building a business to cater to the lifestyle that you want, but in an interesting way where I've traveled a lot and met a lot of interesting people where they're like, I want to live in Chiang Mai, Thailand, I want to live in Bali, whatever it is. I want to optimize to a really low cost base just so I can live this life. What was different about our discussions and why I think we connected deeply very quickly is that we both are excited about building massive things to the standard that you'd find if someone's just building a big team in major cities, but while still doing it with a lot of flexibility of location. So yeah, if you can share a little bit about, now we've talked about the north, let's hit to the beyond. Hit it.
So after university, when I started to really scale things up, while I still had the page, the only job I've ever had was a part-time job. I worked in a store called Bank Fashion. It was basically owned by JD PLC, and it was just a shoe store with a few clothes and stuff in Liverpool city centre. And the moment I realized they valued freedom more than anything was when someone came up to me. He was the manager at the time and told me to dust the shelf. And I was like, it doesn't need dusting. It's clean. And he said, I don't care. I'm telling you to do it anyway. And that's what made me realize. I took my lanyard off. I gave it back, and I walked straight out the door. And that's when I realized that I need to be an entrepreneur and I need to attain freedom, because listening to other people and actually taking orders from someone that I don't agree with, it's not within my nature.
And it's so symbolic, isn't it? That can be your next book. Dust your own shelf. Bang, done.
Dust your own shelf, exactly. You're full of them today, mate. This is great.
Man, we're on fire today. We're rolling. There's nothing better though, isn't it? Where there's like a power trip piece. It's not dusty. He's coming in with a command. He's got to feel like this managerial push. And the worst thing you can ever do is say that to someone who has like the burning desire of an entrepreneur, even if they don't know it yet. Sometimes that's the catalyst, and then it clicks.
Definitely sped up the process for me, and it gave me a lot more motivation to take the agency thing seriously and really try and earn a good income. But since that moment, I've always valued freedom over anything. Now I look at money as just something you have to attain to get that freedom of
Mm.
time. People sometimes get me wrong that I'm always chasing money and I'm very materialistic with things. But at the end of the day, the only thing that the main thing I value is freedom, the freedom to get up in the morning whenever I want, be able
Mm.
to travel whenever I want, and not be told where to be at a certain time
Mm.
by a boss or whatever it is. That's something which I value
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more in control of my life then, and that's what motivates me every single day to continue to scale and continue to network and meet people who are like-minded.
Mm.
I think it's so important to surround yourself by people who are like that. I think a massive thing for me growing up was, well, you'll probably agree with this as well. You are the average of the four or five people you spend most of your time with, and I spoke a lot. I done another podcast the other day actually, and I spoke a lot about small town mentality and how destructive it is in early stages of life,
Mm.
because it basically makes you restricted to the opinions of the people around you and their energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, freedom's always been the biggest thing. So to run an agency that literally I just need a laptop and a phone
Mm.
is absolutely incredible. I wouldn't change it for anything. I don't have any offices. I don't have, 10, 20, 30 staff members. Everything is flexible and built around my life. The whole agency is built around freedom,
Mm.
and not about just scaling for profitability.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, man. And there's this scales that I thought about, because I've gone through lots of different periods in your life like you have, where one, it's to build things for the sake of just building them to be massive. But where it started really making sense in my head was creating a goal set which says that I want to achieve X by only doing Y. And for guys like us, we still work really, really hard, but it's towards a specific goal to achieve this type of thing. And the thing you're achieving could be monetary, it could be freedom, it could be a standard of living, but working out what you want to do in order to achieve it. Then you start reverse engineering it and you realize that maybe I've got to be changing my pricing structure. Maybe I've got to be really specific with the types of partners I work with, because I don't want to be dealing with bullshit emails, all day long. I want to be working on projects that really energize me, that are quite profitable, that then means I've got a great lifestyle. And it works out.
Yeah, that definitely took me a couple of years to realize in terms of the type of clients that I wanted to work with.
Mm.
So right now, the way that we work is we'll only work with people who we know we'll get on with and we have a connection with. Because if you don't have a connection with something and belief in a product or service that someone's trying to offer and you're trying to advertise,
Yeah.
I feel almost guilty to take someone's money full well knowing that something isn't going to be the best work that I can possibly give out. As well as that, going back to freedom, if I enjoy working with someone, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm just exchanging knowledge with someone and helping them get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And everyone wins.
Yeah.
So we definitely did change our pricing structure. And I think as you start to get more clients, you do start to put your prices up, obviously, because you start to realize your worth and people put different values on your head. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you value yourself. There's plenty of times where I'm on calls trying to close clients. They hear my price and they say that's way too expensive. I could get someone else for 2, 3, 4 grand a month cheaper. And I said, okay, great. Well, you're more than welcome to go with them. This isn't a barter. This is my price. This is what my time is worth.
Yeah.
And it's either a take it or leave it situation.
Yeah. And that's really important.
But yeah,
that's really important. Yeah. One quick note on that one. So another big thing that has helped us and helped me through building all of this is impact pricing. So then we started finding people that we knew that the amount that we would charge, which often seems like a lot to certain people, needed to be X% of whatever their total revenue is, so that we knew if we could even improve things by 5%, we easily pay for ourselves. And you're right, and you start gathering that from the discussion. And there's like two different bits. One is, what's the level of the business at, and can you easily pay for yourself and drive a positive ROI? But then the other bit that I was thinking about when you were talking with clients, I almost subconsciously, I'm very conscious about this, doing like mini Myers-Briggs when I'm talking to people. I'm like, how are we going to get along? How are we going to be communicating? Do we see the world in the same way? So it's like, can you easily drive the right level of impact to pay for your services where it makes sense for them? And are you going to have fun doing it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do get caught up on just get the money and get the money and get the money in.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is you're not giving 100% of what you are and what you're capable of doing for a client.
Yeah.
So you're then going to put strain on a relationship with them, but also you're not going to have great case studies moving forward and results in which, because at the end of the day, when people work with us, and it's the same for the majority of people, they're going to look at previous work, they're going to look at previous case studies, and they'll want to know who you've worked with, what they're saying about you, and what the results are that you've driven, whether it's getting someone 100,000 app downloads or growing someone 20,000 followers. I think that's one thing about my space is, and I'm very unique about my agency, the KPIs differ every single client. So we do a tailored service for everything. So we don't come in and say we only do this, we only do this. It's you let me know exactly what you need and we'll come up with something, I think of Social Kick more as a boutique agency than something which is mass scale, helping hundreds of people at one given time. So yeah, that's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah, which is really important too, because we've got our methodology and at the end of the day, it's about growing things and it's about driving revenue and it's about achieving that with a certain level of efficiency. But then other people perceive it differently. So we often have to kind of meet in the middle where we never change the outcome of what we want to drive, but we communicate it in different ways. And sometimes someone's communicating or reporting to a CMO or a CEO, and that executive suite may want to see certain types of numbers. So we help ensure that we give them what they need to communicate it upwards. Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting as well.
Please.
Working with, say, a startup company compared to a big company that has got different levels of hierarchy that you have to go through as well.
Yeah.
I personally prefer working with the smaller companies because it's so much easier to get creative ideas through. It's so much easier to press the go button if something pops up, because the social media world changes so quickly, and it could be a couple of hours in it to get something out there which could potentially go viral or create X amount of sales. And with the larger companies, I find it quite difficult to get that creative approval within a certain time frame which is needed.
Yeah, it's painful. And then just the limitations. They're like, that comma's in the wrong spot. I'm like, man, come on. It took you 2 days to tell me that. Let's get this shit live. So let's go into to this bit, which is very fun. So Adam has a really strong following himself, and without needing to swing an appendage, it's like 140K. But what was fascinating about Adam's story about building this is, I remember he was breaking it down through Dubai, and we were talking about the importance of personal brand. I was like, man, I don't like that shit. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And you helped me really understand the value of it. But there's also a lot of fun stuff that comes out of it, and it's much more than just like a high count of like a vanity metric. And there's like the leverage of cool stuff that you can do. So we're sitting down there. We had a really fun meeting. I was like, man, we're in Dubai. Let's get some Lambos. And you're like, I got it. I know a guy. And then within a couple of seconds, Adam had helped boost the profile of one of the rental companies. And then the next day we've got like a true, it's just the wankiest color in the world, wasn't it? But it was brilliant. It was like a bright electric blue Lamborghini, rolls up, and there's a McLaren as well. And I was blown away. And I was like, this guy's just making this shit happen, and it makes it actually really affordable. So can you share a little bit about some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and I guess the secondary value that happens from having this type of tactically built high quality following?
Yeah, as well as business leads, which is always the main focus for anyone's personal brand. For me, I was focused so much over the last couple of years of building my clients, not myself. So this year is really the time for me where I'm going to be boosting that myself and really spending a lot of time and effort on the content and, giving out value-driven content, because that's something in which, I gave people very cool pieces of content, but with very little context to what's actually going on. And I feel like that's not always the way to go about it. However, growing a personal brand definitely does have its benefits away from business. If you network right with the right people, you can make pretty much anything happen within reason. If you're a good negotiator and you're a good communicator, I feel like as long as you've got a strong following and a very clean page with good quality content, you can leverage that for things like, and this is just an example from this year alone, free hotel stays, free meals at restaurants, free Lamborghinis when I'm in Dubai. It's all the whole of the social media world is a value exchange. And as long as you can offer value to someone and you can get it back and they know your worth, having a big following just automatically shows people that you know exactly what you're doing. People can go on my profile and easily see I travel the world, I do cool things, I create good content. So for that in itself, that's so important, I think, when trying to actually negotiate and leverage your personal brand away from just the business aspects of it. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun over the years with hotels and cars and discounts in certain places, and getting tickets that aren't out there. And the exposure is great. It really is. I think a lot of people get lost with personal brands because they'll get so caught up in what we call the vanity metrics, which is the followers and the likes, and not what the actual conversion of those are, which is, the end goal is always to monetize and, grow and scale your following anyway. But a lot of people get so focused in on likes and engagement. And the thing is with that, Instagram's not the same every single day. I'm talking specifically on Instagram here because I could talk about 5 or 6 different platforms, but obviously Instagram's where the majority of my experience is. One day you could get 1,000 likes. The next day you could post a picture which is twice as good, or a video which is twice as good, and you can get half of that. And that's not your fault whatsoever. There's only so much that you can leverage your content and your strategy for you to be able to actually grow on a social platform. This goes for all of them, actually. They've all got different algorithms, but this goes for all of them. People get so caught up on the engagement side of it. If they don't get, say, 100 likes within a 10-minute period or a 5-minute period, they'll delete a post because they think it's not actually going to perform that well, and that they're not being accepted within the Instagram community, right? But the thing is, if they keep churning out that content, they could quadruple their following if they just looked at the long term and not the short term goal of how many likes an actual photo got, because they're scared of people thinking that it's low, or they're not, in their head they're not being accepted by the community. So yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. So it's like authenticity and consistency. And the way that I liked how you approached contacting these different companies was, do you remember the post where I think it was like a hotel in Ireland and it went viral when there was an influencer girl trying to do that? That's like the kind of cheesy, cheap way of doing it. You did it from like a marketing perspective, which is like, hey man, I've got a really large engaged audience that I think would love to find out more about what you're doing, the Lamborghinis or whatever the hell it is. I think it would be a really good fit. What do you think? And it's not like a gimme. It's a marketing strategy. It's the same way that I would approach a partnership online, where it's like, you've got a large audience, I've got this product, let's work something out in the middle.
It's exactly that. So influencers themselves, people who just have a large following in any niche, are not necessarily entrepreneurs or business people. So when it comes to actually communicating with people in a certain way to try and leverage their following, they're not able to do so because they're coming across childish or immature or unprofessional, because they just see something and they want it, whether it's bad. It could be anything from bad grammar to just potentially being rude. Whereas I'll come across from a much more business heavy perspective. And instead of being like, hey, I'm going to do a post for you on my story and you might get some followers, I come across like, hey, if you need any help with social media, please let me know. Then I'll go onto their Instagram page or their Facebook page and I'll see what they're doing wrong. And I'll say, hey guys, just by, as some free advice, I definitely recommend, post an X amount of times a day, or don't post that type of content, do more of this, use more stories, don't use IGTV, whatever it is for whatever brand. I'll give them more value, which is more than just the post. It's the knowledge and letting them know and giving them the comfort that they're actually making the right choice.
Interesting.
Exchanging value with me, whether it's a car or a hotel, whatever it is. So when I speak like that to people, it's a lot better than, hey, do you do collabs?
It's like, a value.
Can I have a Lambo?
It's a big value. I remember the Lambo ended up costing me a lot. I remember I was sitting on the beach and then I got a WhatsApp message from you saying,
oh my goodness.
Saying, you sent the first speeding fine and the second speeding fine, and then you're like, man, it's getting impounded. And I'm usually very calm with all these different things. I was like, I gotta leave Dubai. I gotta get the next flight out of Dubai. And I'd heard all the stories of them, being quite ruthless. It freaked the shit out of me. It turned out that I wasn't quite ready to wrangle the Italian horses of a Lamborghini in the desert. But it scared the
It's
shit out of
very
me.
easy.
But they
It's
helped.
very easy,
Yeah,
by the way,
yeah,
with that car.
yeah.
But
It really does. They actually, yeah, they said they were going to impound it. I was like, that's bad. That's bad news. But then also your contacts, they helped me get it resolved for a reasonable fee. But it was very fun.
yeah, it was quite reasonable. Still, it was a very expensive day.
But we got good video footage out of it, so it was good.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So that's building personal brands. So what about businesses? How should they be thinking about building their business profile out, and not necessarily to build out these kind of collabs, but to get in front of the right people through organic?
Yeah. So I think a lot of businesses overthink what they're doing as well, in terms of the type of content they're putting out. They'll treat it like every single post has to be perfect. But realistically, in the very early stages of growth, from someone who's looking to get organic traffic, you have to do a few different things. The main one you have to do is you have to see what the most favoritized Instagram feature is. And any app, by the way, even TikTok, they all have different features. But I'm gonna, just specifically say Instagram. Otherwise, I could talk for hours about each individual features. But so for example, at the moment with Instagram, if a brand wants to grow, if you were to just post still images on Instagram and expect tens of thousands of people to come and see your posts, you're mistaken. It's very difficult right now. It's the hardest yet the easiest way to grow right now on Instagram, because if you use the right features and you know what the right features are, you can leverage that. And if you stay consistent, you can do incredible numbers of exposure. If you just post still images and you're not following what's actually the main feature on the platform, you're probably gonna struggle. So if you post just images at the moment, I'd highly recommend against it. At the moment, and the time of this podcast being recorded, IG Reels are the number one reason people are growing right now. I've seen businesses go from 0 all the way up to 20,000 followers inside of a month.
Wow.
Just by posting creative and interesting reels. So the Reels algorithm runs on a different algorithm to the rest of Instagram. If you're posting a still image on IGTV, they'll still run on the same. But with Reels, it has, and you'll probably see it when you do go on the Instagram app, it's smack bang in the center at the bottom, the Reels logo, and they are favoritizing that because that's just what they want to do right now. Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app. The CEO, Adam Mosseri himself, said it is actually becoming more of a short video based app. That's what they're aiming for. Obviously going for the direct competition with TikTok, where TikTok has actually done the reverse and went from 60-second reels and now allowing 3-minute reels. So they're actually getting longer. Everyone's trying to target different type of audiences and different type of content which can actually be posted. But yeah, the Instagram Reels right now is the number one way to grow on Instagram. You can have 0 followers per reel with a combination of really good hashtags, end up on someone's explore page on the feeds, and you could potentially get 10, 20, 30, 40,000 views on a video with absolutely 0 followers. And I've done this a few times over to actually test this out, because I wouldn't be a social media expert if I couldn't grow pages myself, right? So started a few pages from 0 and done a few videos with some hashtag strategies that I know that work specifically within Reels. And I was easily able to get 6, 7, 8, 9,000 views on certain videos with 0 followers. So that proves to me that Instagram are really, really pushing this at the moment. But yeah, in terms of organic growth, there's a few things I'd say. The first one is to make sure you have a wide variety of content pillars to start off with. Don't just post the same thing.
What are some examples? What are some examples of pillars?
Okay, so for example, let's say there's someone in the fitness niche, right? There's a fitness brand or a fitness influencer. What they could do is, instead of just posting pictures of their products, which I know a lot of people do because they don't know what else to post, what they could do is they could do reels on 15, 20-second reels on tips and tricks of how to get a 6-pack. The next one could be how our supplements can fit into your daily routine. The next one could be just product shots and call to actions of go to our shop or link in bio, whatever it may be. as long as you've got a good variety of content pillars to start off with, you've then got, and you keep up the consistency of those pillars, that is the key to success right now. Utilizing Instagram Reels as the main platform, the main feature of the platform, making sure you have a wide variety of content pillars, and the consistency, the amount of times that clients or potential clients come to me and say, hey, Adam, I want 1 million views on this video. I said, okay, cool. I want to make it go viral. Well, the thing is, no one can decide when something goes viral, otherwise it wouldn't be viral, right? Everyone would be viral, and that's impossible. So I have to tell people that with consistency, if you post 1 Reels every single day for 30 days, you've got 30 different pieces of content. I can pretty much guarantee anyone who's watching this right now that they will at least have 3 to 4 pieces of, only if the good pieces of content, of course. You've got to do a bit of research on your industry and what does well and competitors and see what their views are like and replicating their type of content. I guarantee you're going to get at least 3 to 4 pieces of those content that just completely blow up.
Yeah, and it's
now whether
it's
that's 20,000,
yeah, or even more. It's engineering an environment. It's the same thing of the concept of luck. It's like you can wait to be lucky, or you can engineer an environment where there's a much higher probability that you'll come across luck. And this is just consistency and well-researched pieces of content.
Yeah, exactly that. And I like to look at it and compare it to if someone was to do like traditional Facebook advertising. You run split tests, you run different pieces of content, you see what works and you double down on it. You're never going to know what works and what doesn't work organically if you don't spread out your content and see what happens and how people react to it. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely other ways of organic growth. That's just one in terms of strategy and content. But then there's also other ways, such as your influencer collaborations and all those type of things. But yeah, I know you wanted me to specifically talk about the content and the actual organic side of it in terms of what people are posting, because I think a lot of people do struggle with that.
No, that's really helpful. So the next bit is something I didn't know about when Adam actually helped blow up one of our accounts, and I was like, all right, let's give this guy a big goal. Let's give him a juicy goal. And I thought it was going to be a big goal, and you're like, I'm on it. And it was almost like with sniper precision, month on month. I think we went up to 50,000 in 3 months, something like that, from a brand new account. And high engagement too. So I'm a performance guy. So I'm like, all right, I don't just care about the following. I need to know that it's going to result in revenue, and it did. So a lot of actually maybe go over the influencer strategy, like the collabby type of piece, where if you want these quantum pieces of growth and you're willing to put budget behind it, how can people be thinking about that tactic?
So influencer marketing is not going away anytime soon. It's still, in my eyes, very, very new. And the reason I think it's very new is there's so many new influencers and people with exposure that are popping up every single day. There's some people, prime example, have you seen Squid Games? Have you heard all the hype about Squid Games?
I'm watching it at the moment. It's and for anyone that hasn't seen it, think of like Tarantino meets Korea in terms of gore. It's a mind fuck. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So the main girl in it, who was a model beforehand anyway, I think her name's, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get it wrong.
Is she the young pickpocket one? Which one's she?
Yeah, young pickpocketer in it, right? Yeah. So I think it was around 11 or 12 days ago, she was on around 40,000 followers, I believe, on Instagram. Big model, agencies in London, New York, whatever. She goes on the show. Instagram, obviously started posting on Instagram a lot more. She's just hit 14 million followers in 5 days. Her engagement at the moment is roughly anywhere between 5 to 10 million likes per photo.
Wow.
And it just shows you the power of it. But anyway, yeah, people are popping up every single day in the influencer world. Yeah. I do believe there's 2 types of influencers. You've got your saturated and your unsaturated. Your unsaturated are people who are super effective, who aren't just working with every brand that's thrown at them, right? So as long as they're promoting a product where they feel comfortable and it's very organic in the way that they're actually pushing it, it's very, very effective to still use influencers in pretty much any niche whatsoever. Whether you're an entrepreneur trying to get more followers, a fitness brand, an app company, an e-com brand, 100% worth it. Then you've got your unsaturated. sorry, your saturated. Your saturated ones are what I like to refer to as your Love Islanders and your reality stars who may be just trying to get a quick grab of money, and their agents are just pushing money to them, and they're just promoting things. And what happens then is if they're promoting 5 different things a week from companies that just don't really relate to their personality and who they are as a person, it's very easy for people, audiences are becoming smarter, followers are becoming smarter. They know when they're being sold to, and not just by the hashtag ad, which happens every time someone posts an ad. There are more organic ways to do it. But that's where a lot of people go wrong, because people who aren't very educated on influencer marketing, they'll look for people with big followings who might have some cool pictures, who might have come off a show or whatever it is. But they might get high likes, but they won't actually, that never means conversion, ever. Prime example, I had a watch brand a couple of years ago. I paid someone with 700,000 followers, £1,500 for a feed post and a story post. They got 0 sales.
Wow.
0.
700K.
So for me, that was a big lesson. However, I've done a lot of free advertising, and I've sent, on behalf of clients, sent products out, and also my own brands, in which I've had as well. I've sent products out, and I've had people with 10,000 followers with great content make 7, 8, 9, 10 sales. So that's what I mean about vanity metrics. It's very relevant in the influencer world as well. It's still super, super effective, and more influencers are accessible now, and they're going to continue to be accessible. So,
and what's the best way to I guess think about the right criteria set when we're talking about ensuring they're not vanity? The obvious one is big fat followings, and I guess you could look at how they probably built their following. How can people find the right ones and think about the right criteria?
So there's me myself, obviously, as an organic guy, I don't really like using any type of software, because I feel like software does create inaccurate information sometimes, and I don't know what their sources are or how they're actually gathering that information. So what I like to do is I like to just do everything organically myself. I like to see who's big in the industry, Google a few people, research people in the industry, and from there just go on a massive research of just who's big in the industry, who's popping at the moment, how many views are people are getting, how many comments as well people are getting. Now, I know that's not going to go into direct sales, but then see how loyal their followers are. And this is the biggest key for me, and this is a great tip for anyone looking to run any influencer campaigns. Work with influencers that have an omnipresence on multiple platforms. Because one thing I've realized is when someone makes a big following on Instagram, it's very difficult to get them to other platforms. But if they're on other platforms like TikTok or big on Facebook or YouTube, it's very easy to then funnel engaged followers back through to an Instagram account.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned to me once that it's easier to get from TikTok to Instagram or Instagram to TikTok. Which way was it?
TikTok to Instagram is a lot easier than Instagram to TikTok.
Why do you think it is? What's going on?
Newer audiences, younger audiences, more engaged. People on TikTok are a lot more fearless, and they don't really care too much, where people on Instagram are, if they're brought up on Instagram, will just stay on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I don't know the full facts and the figures behind that, but from personal experience, on behalf of me and the people I've worked with, it's definitely the case.
Got it. The gram is a precious. Good old Instagram.
Yeah, and that's another one actually. While we're on that subject, if you want to grow an Instagram following, grow a following somewhere else as well. You're posting content on IG Reels, post on TikTok. You might be able to cross-pollinate, get people over to Instagram, and the odd vice versa. But yeah.
And same. Could you take, I guess, with Reels being a direct competitor to TikTok, can you just copy and paste that content across both? Do you find that works? You don't have to tailor it.
Yeah, it honestly does. Because you can add sounds, you can add stickers, you can add text, voiceovers. They've got pretty much exactly the same features. So it's very easy to create. And it's the same aspect ratio. It's 9:16.
Yeah.
So the aspect ratio, when you're creating the content, is very easy to just post on both, see what works best.
Easy. I had a little dabble with TikTok where I was on a flight. I think it was London to Kiev, and then there was someone that refused to wear a mask. It was like a classic Karen, the ones you always see. But I was like, I'd never seen one in person, and it was phenomenal. So she refused, and it was worth the flight being delayed. They brought on the security guards, and they had to strap her to a mini wheelchair and take her off. And
Oh my
she's
goodness.
just yelling, and it was crazy. Everyone's like, "Is this really happening?" So I was like, "Fuck it, let's see what happens if I put this on TikTok." Put it on TikTok, forgot about it, and it got 100,000 views. hundred
Oh
thousand views.
wow.
Yeah, but it was a bad crowd. It was a bad crowd. They're like, "Damn!" Just yelling at this lady and abusing her. So
Yeah, but
for good and
still,
for evil. Yeah, let me see it. I'll see if I can find it.
to
But
get that many views
yeah,
is incredible.
yeah,
No, like that's a prime example. You know yourself. Like it takes one thing to go viral.
yeah. But when it does, that's amazing. So that's handy. So build your following on both platforms. Focus on reels. Get your reels on TikTok. Get it going at both in parallel. That's amazing. So to finish up, man, are there any accounts or brands that people should look at to get some inspiration that are absolutely crushing it?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many that I could mention right now. One of my favorite accounts on Instagram at the moment is the Gymshark account. It really
Mm,
is. They are doing incredible things in terms of the balance between their influencer effectiveness and the content which they're posting, the value which they're giving, and a great balance of actually putting the products in front of people's faces without saying, "Hey, buy this now,
yeah,
right
yeah.
now," because that's that's one thing I hate. I'll never do that with any of my clients. I'll never get them to oversell. You've got to build a community. If you're on social media, you're there to build a loyal community. If you want just sales, okay, go run some Facebook ads. That's fine. You don't need any followings for that. But if you're putting together a strategy and you're treating Instagram like your museum of content and
Mm,
something which represents your brand,
mm,
yeah,
mm.
it's so Gymshark is one that I'd recommend everyone to look at. Their balance of how they use their features is absolutely incredible. Let me think of another niche real quick. Um, Man, there's so many going through my head. I'm trying to think of a niche that. Do you want like an influencer? Or do you want like a
Maybe, yeah. So maybe we've got one for business, and maybe an influencer that you think is doing it very authentically. We'll add your
yeah
account in the show notes anyway because you've got it down, and then anyone else that
yeah?
you
I think
you think is hitting it right.
there's actually a guy on Instagram called Coach Mike. Okay, and he
Mm,
basically just tells people about the new features in which he's putting up, and he's done a very good job of growing and scaling his account with incredible engagement, utilizing Reels as much as physically possible, but also selling his products on his main feed. So when you look, you can see that he's obviously sat down, went through his content pillars, and said to himself, right, well, I can't just sell to people.
mm,
I can't just post Reels.
mm.
I've got to have a balance to show people that, hey, I've got a product here if you want it. But by the way, look how good my content is.
Interesting.
That could be anything from aesthetics, colors, the value of content in which people are giving out as well. He's really good. I know he grew his account from like zero to I think like 550,000 followers in 6 months,
Bang.
just by using Reels, by the way. So
Hey.
he's a very good example of someone who's utilized Instagram. Within the fashion space, I've got friends. A good friend of mine, actually, Carmen. She's very good at making incredible content, but also having a great balance of the reels and showing off her life. And one thing as well is if anyone is watching this that might want to be an influencer or might want to show a bit more personality with their brands, they need to utilize stories, and this is something which a lot of my close influencer circle does within London. Is they are so open and honest, and people relate to the things that
Mm,
are relatable. Right, so if someone's talking about something which is very real to them,
mm,
that kind of breaks the barriers down between. It makes you feel like they know,
mm.
that the audience knows that influencer or knows that brand or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say be vulnerable on Instagram as well, specifically on stories, because they're only up there for 24 hours and it's not permanent. um, I think stories are still crazily underutilized, like absolutely insanely underutilized. People think that it's all to do with feed posts, and it's not. I'd
Mm,
say incredible consistency with Instagram stories as well as Instagram Reels.
yeah.
But yeah, I could list off about a million different influencers right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But you're right though. Like the most interesting people to follow are the ones that share the good stuff and the bad stuff, or just the real stuff. And you're right. You do actually get to know them. And I've met some people where I've followed all their stories, and I'm like, mate, you're the same person. You're the same person, which is it. This has been fantastic, man. So how should people get in touch with you?
They can just get me on Instagram. My DMs are always open. My Instagram is just it's Adam Mark, ITS Adam Mark. Anyone that needs any advice or help, I'm more than happy to take a little look at people's profiles and help them out and see how they can improve. So yeah,
Yeah.
DM is definitely the best option. If it's a business looking for a big influencer campaign or something like that, then yeah, my email is on my Instagram as well.
Perfect. Amazing, man. So that's it. Thanks so much. Always an absolute pleasure, brother. And I don't know where I'm going to see you next, but it's going to be somewhere good. And hopefully no speeding
Pretty
fines.
sure it is, man.
We'll work on it. Amazing.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it for the Grow Shop Show this week. Stay tuned. Plenty more. Bang.